Welcome to the Echo Ratings Eventing Podcast, and we are back, listeners, with another Future Stars show for you. It has been a little while since we've done one of these, but I'm unbelievably excited about the guest on today's show because her name has been mentioned a lot over the last few years on the podcast. She is absolutely one that you need to be watching out for the future. She is currently ranked inside the world's top 70. She had some incredible results at 4-star long last year. She is a young rider medalist, a junior medalist as well. It is, of course, none other than Heidi Coy. And Heidi, we are delighted to have you on the show. It is nice to, I was saying this before we started, we've never actually met. I feel like I know you because I talk about you so much, but it is good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me on here. It's actually a pleasure to be on here.
We're looking forward to picking your brains. And of course, my partner in crime for these Future Star shows is none other than Spike the vet, who loves to champion the talent of the future. Spike, let's just touch upon very quickly what this Future Stars show is all about, because it's something that, as I say, you're massively passionate about, but is also really, really important for the future of our sport.
Yeah, we're such the sport is so unique in that the longevity of riders is so long, yet we have such hugely talented people that are always coming through and coming into the sport. And I think it's so important to champion that effort and that drive and that determination that comes with riders that are in their early 20s, in comparable Olympic sports. You can be done and gone by the age of 30, and in eventing you're just kind of warming up. And I think that the challenge that's out there for riders to not only have the talent and the drive, but to be able to develop themselves in a profession and a business and all those other aspects. So yeah, I'm a massive supporter and champion of developing and supporting, all riders, but particularly as the youth come through. And I think Heidi will be a really fascinating person to talk to this evening, because we can, and she'll have that, her aspect on it, coming into the sport and coming into that age group. And, unfortunately for her, COVID's rather completely banjaxed 2 years of being very competitive at the young rider level. But now she's, stepping into, at 21, suddenly you're stepping into the sort of the adults and stepping into that sort of senior age group and the challenges that can come with that, and, and continue to be competitive. But, one thing that Heidi definitely is seriously competitive.
She's smiling, Spike's smiling, we're all smiling at that. Right. Heidi, let's just go back a few years, because how did you fall in love with horses, and what was your introduction to the sport?
So basically my mum actually had a few horses, and she actually did some BE events when I was very small. I was sort of about 3 or 4, and she had her own horse, and she was juggling looking after me and my brother, and had an event horse, and she evented up to 100 level. And then basically I just remember, obviously when I was a bit older, someone said to me, you do realise you will be riding ponies and horses for the rest of your life. And I was thinking, gosh, what does that mean? Because at this point I had this little Shetland pony, and it was already brought before I was even born. So basically I was like determined to ride this pony. And actually when I was younger, I wasn't that interested. I was actually quite nervous as a kid. And I remember my brother actually being better than me, and he actually quite enjoyed it, and he was a bit braver. And I was like, oh no, I'm never gonna ride these ponies. And actually when I was about 6 or 7, I got a really good little pony. And I remember Mum saying, she was like, get on this pony, and I was so nervous. But the only reason we bought it was because it trotted over a crosspole. And ever since that day I haven't really looked back. And I actually had some very good ponies, and I used to be do showing. So I did the working into ponies, and I was very lucky. I actually had a winner at Hickstead in the nursery stakes, and was second at Hoy's, and going around that main arena was pretty cool. And I was only about 12. And then my mum actually trained with Caroline Moore, and Mum was like, oh, I wanted to get you started some lessons with Caroline. And I went up there on my ponies, and she was like, you must buy an event pony. So we went out and bought a 14-hand pony to do workers on and eventing. When I was 13, that's when I started with my first BE80 at Frickley. I remember it so well. And ever since then, carried on ponies and moved on to horses. So
I absolutely love it. I want to touch upon the sort of your start in the show ring, because we've got seen other riders, the likes of Laura Collett, Charlotte Dujardin, both of whom, you know, saw a massive amount of success in their early sort of childhood in the show ring that they have then put to great effect in their respective eventing and dressage careers. Do you think that is a real skill that you learned at a young age in terms of presenting a horse or a pony at that stage, to that you are now able to carry through? And is that something that you have brought forward now you're eventing and that is your job?
Yeah, no, definitely. It got me to, like, you know, ring practice, ring craft. It got you to ride neatly. And actually it was the biggest thing I found was dealing to ride with the pressure, you know, going to Hoys in that small arena, going to Hickstead, you know, it was that pressure on you. And actually it really got you to, like, from a young age. I mean, I went to Hoys when I was 8, and you know, and you've got to present, like, say, in front of the judges for, like, your dressage, and it definitely puts you in a good stead for the eventing. I think it kind of eventing leads on from the workers, so definitely a really good thing. I really enjoyed it as well.
Let's be honest, how much showing did you do once you got the taste of eventing with your...
I think I finished the year, and then I actually remember going to Weston Park, and I said to Caroline, I'm doing the 100 on my pony because I really want to do it. It's my last year. And she was like, no, you're not doing that. You're doing the junior 1-star at time, obviously now 2-star on your horse. And I remember going down to Weston Park. I did my dressage on the Thursday, and then I went to Hoys on the Friday with my 14-hand pony. And she actually came 4th. And then I managed to go back to Weston to finish my competition. And then I think that was one of the last ever showing events I did.
What about the kind of the journey then? So you'd obviously had a pretty good taste of success early on in your eventing career as such, because am I right in saying 2014, so you would have been 14? I think you're born in 2000, so 14, and you qualify for you hadn't been competing eventing very long, 2 years, for the Grassroots Championships at Badminton. Had Badminton been somewhere that you'd thought, I really, really want to compete here? Or was that the sort of a turning point for you?
No, definitely. I had, again, my little 14-hand pony, and she was great. And, you know, I managed to qualify for the 90 actually. And it was in 2015, and she came 3rd. And I remember the prize giving in front of the house. And I thought, gosh, I want to do the big badminton, not just your little 90. But I definitely had an aim to go there. And then once I was there, and just, you know, cantering through the lake was just an amazing experience, and definitely one I definitely want to do again.
So Heidi, from what age did you start working with Caroline Moore? She's someone that's been a real support and almost, you know, being like a mentor to you. You mentioned her just then when you were, you know, a very young age. How did that develop, and how did that start?
So again, because my mum trained with Caroline, and because I'm so lucky I'm only 15 minutes away from Vale View, which is where Caroline is based, I started probably when I was about 12, and I'm just turned 22, so probably a good 10 years of training and grilling from Caroline. But she has been the biggest part of my eventing career, probably. You know, to be fair, she found my junior young rider horse, Royal Fury. She was the one that told me to go look at him, and found Helenza, also another chestnut mare that I own. And, you know, she's been there through thick and thin, you know, and not only has she coached me obviously with my horses, but she's also been a very good friend to me. And it's so nice when I go to the events that I know we've got a plan in place, and she's there. She warms me up. We both know each other. We both know when, like, one's a bit more nervous, or, you know, and she's always there pushing me, but in a really good way, and keeping me confident. Because even though I probably come across as a really confident person, I'm actually quite a nervous person at the same time, and I get quite, like, worked up about the events. And I think when, you know, I've had some good success in the past, and I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to be that person that's at the top, because you've been there. I think that's quite a hard thing as a young rider.
Is that more where the nerves come from, as opposed to, the nerves of you wanting to do well, as opposed to the nerves of actually this is quite scary, what I'm
Yeah,
getting.
like I don't really ever get nervous and think it's out of my comfort zone. I get nervous because I want it to go well and I want the horses to go well. And, you know, obviously a lot of time and effort has gone into these horses and you want it to pay off and you want, you know, my parents have been amazing and you want them, you know, to show them that what you've done and your trainers and not let the horses down. I think that's where my nerves comes from rather than actually nervous of doing the event.
And
It's
what about
interesting that, isn't it? Sorry, Nicole. I was just going to say, I think it's very interesting, that sort of internal drive that you have from that point of view, and I think that's a really interesting aspect of, you know, not wanting to let the horses down. When does it then evolve into changing from, you know, from it being internal to actually accepting that external drive is there from, let's say, owners, you know, family and supporters and things like that? Do you try and absorb that, or do you try and keep it out?
No, I mean, I try like take it all in. I try get, you know, like my owners and they all help me as a person. And I definitely got better over the years as I've grown older, obviously, just to believe in my horse and be happier with, you know, say if you go in and to a show jump round but you have a rail, but actually be really chuffed with how the horse has jumped rather than thinking, oh, well, it wasn't a clear round. And I definitely have got better with that. And that just comes with a bit of age and time and experience. But it is, you know, when you've got your juniors and young riders that you're chasing and you think, gosh, can't have a pole down because the selectors but actually, you know, everyone makes mistakes and you've just got to go on the horse's performance and just hope that you've done, you know, all your training to prepare for the best.
What about that sort of junior young rider journey? Because as Spike said earlier on in the show, actually COVID has wiped out your last 2 years of young riders, which would have been highly, highly competitive. So I guess, first of all, it was a horse called Royal Fury who actually took you to your first championships, which were the Junior Europeans in Fontainebleau back in 2018. You got the individual silver, the team silver as well, a pretty dreamy start to a team career. Tell us a bit about him.
So I brought him as a just 5-year-old. Again, from Caroline had seen him with a lady called Annie Kirkham and she said, oh, you must go buy this young horse. And then at the time I would have been 15 or 16 and we were like, why would I want a young horse? You know, I'm so young. And I remember going to try him and I fell in love with his jump. But I remember saying to Mum, oh, well, actually, he'll make a hunter for me because we're beaver country around here and there's quite a few like good hedges and stuff. And I said to Mum, oh, he'll be a great hunter. And he'd actually, not many people probably know this, but he actually failed the vet as a sort of 5-year-old on x-rays. And so I remember saying to Mum, oh, we'll just buy him as a cheap project for hunting. And then I got training a bit with him with Caroline and she was like, no, this horse is too good to hunt. And I was like, oh, okay. And if you got him out the stable, you know, he's got short legs, croup high, you know, he's not a flashy horse at all, as Spike will know, as Spike's seen him. But he has a heart of gold and, you know, I put a lot of hours into training him and it just goes to show, you know, he didn't cost me a lot of money and he's gone and won me 3 medals and that was just hard work putting into him. Obviously, he has got a bit of natural talent there, but he's not actually built for it. And it just goes to show that actually if you get that bond, and I think because I had him, I was the first person taking around his first 90 to the first intermediate to the Europeans, and getting that bond I think is way more special than a horse maybe that's probably been produced by someone else because you don't know them as well.
Many a horse has been ruled out by some nasty vet as a 5-year-old.
Damn those vets.
Terrible vets. I don't know why he bothered. But I mean, you can't judge heart. You can't judge, you know, will. You can't judge their brain. You know, and you know, from a vetting point of view, and you know, and what I do know about Rory is that he's just got a brilliant brain and an absolute will to succeed. And like the partnership that you have with him, he's been great to work with on the championship teams. And I mean, you know, when we were out in Fontainebleau and you came back with your individual silver, there were some real fancy, flashy German and French horses around there, and they'd still have a pole. And Rory jumped brilliantly, even though you couldn't hold one side of him at one point. And I think that just shows, you know, it shows that, you know, determination and will. And you know, we've interviewed in the past a couple of the German riders that are out there competing against you, and they're on these, these other horses that might overtly look as flashy and fancy and everything like that, but you just, a good heart and a brilliant brain, you just can't knock that at all.
Definitely.
He took the individual bronze in Marsberg and at the Young Rider Europeans that you did go to in 2019. So at what point did you actually say, do you know what, eventing is something I want to make a career out of? Did you know by this point, or do you...
Sort of. I remember so in 2018 I was doing my A-levels, and I remember I was going down to Nunny, which was the final trial for the juniors, and that was on the Sunday. And I got a phone call that evening saying you're going to the Junior Europeans. And I remember having my chemistry A-level on the Monday. And I think I just thought, do you know what? I'm not obviously I had to do some revision, but I was just like, actually at this point, I was like, I really want to do the eventing, because I wasn't sure when I did my A-levels whether to do them or not. I thought, well, at least if I've got them to fall back on. But I think at that point, and I was like, yeah, I want to do this eventing. When I'd sort of made, the big GB team, it was quite a big thing to do.
So what's your setup now? Because your family are dairy farmers.
Yeah.
Your mum obviously has a horsey background, but didn't compete at, I think I'm right in saying, at a particularly high level or anything like that. So from a very sort of normal horsey background in that respect.
Yeah.
What's your setup now at home in terms of the yard and how many horses you've got in?
So my mum's parents weren't horsey at all, and mum was mad keen, and she used to ride some of Barbara Rich's ponies, who was a big hunting lady around here, and then that's how mum got into it. And then mum had a couple of stables. I think she had 3 stables on the farm, with the dairy farm, and then we slowly built some more, and now I've actually got probably 11 in of my own, that I ride. And so, to be fair, we're a dairy farm. We don't have amazing facilities. I've got a 20x40 old rubber school that's been down that Dad built however many years ago. And, haven't got a horse walker or anything like that, but you kind of make it work with what you've got. And, I think a lot of people would come to my yard and think, gosh, how has she actually done it from the facilities that I have had? But I think you've just got to look beyond that and work extra hard. And to be fair, I'm very lucky. Obviously, again, Caroline's at Valeview, which is an amazing setup. So, I'm lucky I can go up there and train. But, it's not been easy. It's been a struggle, when you see people that have got amazing arenas and, big flashy stables, and you think, gosh, I haven't got that. But actually, the will to want to do it, I think, has made me, and the success I've got probably has felt special to me, because I was like, that's what I've come from a horse, like say that Royal Fury that was a wonky donkey, as we all call him, to going on to winning his medals. So I guess anyone can do it. If you want to do it, it will happen, if that sort of makes sense.
Amazing. And that determination really leads to that, attracting owners, and you've got the support of a really, a great guy, David Ottewell, I'm saying his surname correctly.
Yeah.
And he's been, he's a great supporter of yours, and he owns 2 of the horses that you were, campaigning successfully at 4-star last year. But I think the one that all the listeners will be wanting to know about is Russell Z, Rosie. What was where did you find her? Was that Caroline's input again, or was that, did you find her for David, or how did that work? Bringing him and her into the team.
Yeah. So David probably came to me. Rosie was 5, so, and I must have been 16, so it must have been sort of 2017-ish, 16, 17. Anyway, he actually, Caroline, he bought her for a girl called Danny, and then Danny went off to a different career, and then Caroline remember saying to him, what are you going to do with these horses? And he was like, Caroline said, well, I know a junior young rider that would ride them. And I remembered riding them at Vale, and I've always been in love with little Rosie. I mean, she's always been a little trier, and she's only little, but she's got an absolute heart of gold. And so he's been a long-standing owner to me, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity that he's given to me, especially with these 2 amazing horses. And little Rosie has still got a lot more to come, I believe. And so, yeah, I think I was 16 or 17, so I was quite young, really.
How difficult is it, you know, to attract owners? Obviously, you've had some good success at junior young rider level, but you need the support of people to send you horses and to give you opportunities. How difficult have you found that? And is there anything that you've done that you say, actually, that really worked for me?
No, I think it's one of the hardest thing, probably attracting owners, and the way I've sort of gone about, you know, making a career of it is I've brought a lot of young horses and sold them myself. And then obviously I've got Dave who owns the 2, and he's got another one. And then very lucky to have another couple of owners, Maybrit Wed, who owns a third of a really nice 5-year-old. And then Oxstone Eventing also own a really nice rising 8-year-old. And I think it's not an easy thing to attract an owner, especially when you've got, you know, your likes of your Piggies and that who have been there, you know, they've got the t-shirt, haven't they? And it is a hard sport. And I think I think they enjoy giving an opportunity to someone younger, up and coming. And, you know, I guess they like being, I guess where I'm a smaller team, maybe that's probably a bit of an attraction to some owners, because it's, you know, I've got sort of 8-9 horses to event this year, so I guess it's still a big number, but it's probably a smaller team than some people. But it's definitely one of the hardest things, is because no matter how good you are as a rider, if you haven't got the horsepower, then you're not really going to get very far.
It's a big part of that journey, though, isn't it? It's seeing, you know, for owners to be able to support the younger riders is seeing not only the horse but the rider, you know, grow and develop as they progress. And, you know, for them, it should be seeing that they're planning for the long term, because in 10 years' time, when we're not, you know, when it's no longer Piggy March, but it's Heidi Coy that's got 20 horses and, you know, winning this, that, and everything, then they were there at the beginning. So that's definitely, you know, that's the dream, isn't it?
And like, I guess with like Rosie as well, she was only 5 when I got her, and now she's obviously turning 10 this year. And, you know, taking her around her first 4-star was quite special. And, you know, and then to come second at Bicton in the under 25s was just a dream come true. And I think it's nice to go at that level, and then hoping for big things this year. Who knows?
Just quickly, while we're on Rosie, because I feel like I need this clearing up, and our listeners probably do as well. I call her Russell Z. Don't particularly know why. Is it Russell Z? Is it Russell Z? Is it Russell Z? Like, what's the deal? Heidi, sort me out here.
I don't really know, to be honest. So I call her Russell Z, but I guess it just depends what anyone. I don't think it really matters. I think her name is because her stallion is Russell, the show jumper. So then I think they just thought, and she was actually called Sally when Dave first got her, but we had to change that. We couldn't call her Sally, so she's now Rosie.
Sally's a strong name for a horse.
Sally's a good name. Sally. Strong name game there.
But she okay, from, he actually bought her from DHI Event Horses, which have had lots of nice ones.
They've had some lovely ones. Okay, I'll correct myself for this coming season. You just touched upon some of her impressive results last year. She was the runner-up at Bicton in the big under 25 class. And actually that was, I think, for me, one of the turning points of your season as such. The performance you put in the cross country at Bicton on 3 horses that were inexperienced at the level. I mean, for a young rider to have 3 horses at 4-star long level is a huge, huge achievement. I mean, it was seriously being thrown in at the deep end. And the improvement, and I'm sure people watching that watch Bicton or who will have gone back and watched it on Horse and Country will have seen it as well. You grew in confidence.
Yeah.
Too. Like, it was a real turning point in my mind for I guess that what was to come later on in the year. Did it feel that way for you?
Yeah, I do. I remember on the Saturday morning, because it was the seniors were all in the morning, and, you know, as I'm sure you've seen, it was a bit of a car crash. There were people falling off left, right, and centre, and big names, and I was thinking, gosh, how have they had a 20? Like, oh god, I'm never gonna make it. And I thought, no, trust your horses. And I was first out on my chestnut mare that I've had from a 4-year-old. And to be fair, she's a very good cross country horse, and she absolutely flew around. Was gutted to have. She just had a bit of a moment at the step. I mean, out of all the fences, and I think, but I was so pleased with how she coped. But equally, I was worried as well. They've never done a long 4, which it was, what was it, 11 minutes cross country with hills. I thought, gosh, I hope they're fit enough. I hope I'm fit enough. And then I was worried because there was 3 in the under-25s. It only gave me sort of half an hour between each of the cross countries, and I thought, gosh, have I done enough for this? But actually, I just thought, no, I know my horses, I know my plan, I know they'll dig deep for me, and you've just got to go out. It was one of them courses that if you went out and attacked it, you made it round, and if you sort of didn't, then you just sort of had a bit of a whoopsie maybe halfway around or something. And it definitely made my realise that my plan in place that I do for my horses did actually really work.
Did work. It absolutely did. I mean, all 3 of them went very, very well. 2 in the top 10. Russell Z, getting in there. She was second. She finished behind Bobby Upton on the podium. And then obviously there were some very, very good results in 4-star shorts throughout the year. I know they went very, very well at Hartbury and went on to Blenheim, where I'm slipping up already. Russell Z, Rosie, just call her Rosie, finished 7th there. So what is the plan? Obviously, you've got the 3 sort of the 4-star horses. I know Rosie is 5-star qualified. I think one of the others, Helenza, is 5-star qualified as well. So you're obviously only 22, just turned 22. What is the plan? Will we see a 5-star in 2022?
Oh, definitely a plan in place. I mean, obviously anything can happen with the horses. I'd love to go to Bramham because I've never actually been, because obviously last year was changed to Bicton. So I'd love to have the 3 in the under-25s at Bramham, and then maybe potentially the 2 girls to go on and do a 5-star, all being well.
Exciting. Very exciting. What about any other horses in your yard? Can you give our listeners one to watch? They love a horse to follow that they might not have heard of, that they can
probably I've got a really nice rising 6-year-old that I bought last year from GHF. Very lucky again, Caroline and May Britt have bought into a share into him, so we all own a third each, and he won his 90 at Osby. He was one of the 4 of my rides that had a win there, and he is very beautiful, and I think he could be one to watch. He's called he's called Richie. He's called Linus TE. I'm not really sure where his name comes from. It's an interesting one, but he's definitely one to watch for the future.
Exciting. What next? What is the goal for you? Is it the Olympics that drives you? Is it the 5 stars? Is it the business side of things? What is the ultimate goal for Heidi Coy?
I definitely would love to be doing 5 stars. Your Burleys. Obviously, I went to school at Stamford, so I remember coming out of school and running over to Burley Park to watch them all, and that would definitely be a dream come true, to go around Burley with all my friends living in Stamford. But definitely your badminton, obviously, after your grassroots, and then watching the Olympics. I mean, it is pretty cool thing to be able to say that you want to be there, and it's just getting there, I guess. But it's definitely a goal that is on the list.
And do you have a sort of do you have like a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, or is it working from year to year to year?
I guess obviously there is sort of that longer term plan, but equally I kind of like to stick year by year, because a lot of things can happen, obviously owners, horses, and I try not to. I think if you plan too much, you kind of, if it doesn't happen, I feel like you get your hopes up and then it sort of doesn't happen, whereas I'd rather just plan each year by year, moving up. So this year just love to move up to 5-star. The year after, obviously you get a better placing at 5-star. So I guess there is that, you are planning ahead, but it's just keeping it realistic as well at the same time.
And and this is such a cliche question, so I'm literally, listeners, I'm cringing at myself just about to ask this. If you were looking back and you could say to yourself, something that you wish you could have told yourself 10, 15 years ago, about your
15 years ago.
I know, actually, it was like 5. 5 years
She's
ago.
younger than us, Nicole.
I forgot the Future Stars part of this show. 5 years ago, what would you kind of say? I wish I'd known that, or like that was.
Oh gosh, now you put me on the spot. I don't know. I think just definitely if you want it to happen, it will happen. And don't be afraid to dream big. Definitely is a big thing.
Don't be afraid to dream big. We need t-shirts with that on Spike. Heidi's 5-star debut. Spike and I will be rocking the t-shirts.
We'll be there. We'll be there in the finish at the finish box.
Oh gosh,
with our t-shirts on.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll be like, no, we don't know them too. Never seen them before in my life. Look, Heidi, thank you so much. It has been lovely to dig a little bit deeper into your career so far and what's got you to this point, because it's been a really, really cool career so far, and it is only just beginning. So we're looking forward to following your progress. But thank you very much for coming on the show.
No, thank you very much for having me.
It is a pleasure. Spike, I love these shows because these are very much, the future of our sport. And the riders like Heidi that we've had, Felicity Collins, Susie Berry, Calvin Bockman, the young. We did a show with him on the Future Stars show, Emma Brasso as well. Very much are going to be the stars of the future of the sport. And they're already stars now. So we're lucky to be able to enjoy a little insight into what it is that makes it happen.
Well, very much so. And I think, as you say, the future's now. I mean, there'd be plenty of riders out there that would have been giving their hind teeth for the results that Heidi got last year and the quality of horses and how she's produced them. So, yes, it is the future, but I think there's a lot to be excited about right now.
Well, we will watch this space. Heidi, good luck for the start of the season, which is coming around very, very quickly. Spike, always a pleasure. And listeners, we hope you've enjoyed it. If there are any riders that you think we should do a Future Stars show on, then get in touch. We would love to hear from you. Let us know what you think. And we'll be back very soon with more on the Equiratings Eventing podcast. Thanks for listening.